20. Zook tells Bud he can partake in the posh amenities inside. During the day, since he no longer feels like the boss is watching over his shoulder, he cozies up to some of the ladies by the pool who seem to like his look. No one ever says he can't play around with others living in the mansion. It's like playing doctor with a couple of the Playboy bunnies in their lavish home. It's certainly an indulgent day for Bud and a few of the ladies, who have been bored in the mansion, and are used as blood food for their masters. The butlers, and the other volunteers, have been doing naughty things to each other many times over, but now they have new stock to play with, and as soon as the masters go to sleep, the liquor comes out, and the clothes come off. Bud isn't used to playing with multiple ladies, but he definitely likes giving it a try. Having been a ghoul for quite some time, with a fair amount of vampire blood swimming through his veins, he is definitely enjoying himself. The jealousy of others who want to play with the new big man runs almost as thick as the liquor. Bud passes out around noon that day, trying to last longer but knowing that if he doesn't rest, he'll have some pissed off vampires to deal with later that night. He wakes up at around 5, after only a few hours of sleep, but when two ladies crawl into his bed with nothing on, he has no reason to protest. They're not done with him yet. After another round of fun, he finally pushes them off, saying he needs to get cleaned up for the job. They lead him to a spacious shower built for at least 2, if not 3, people. Getting clean takes longer than usual, as they insist on washing him from head to toe, reveling in his rippling, yet spent muscles, and he doesn't object. As night falls, everyone needs to get their game faces on, after all the excitement. The ladies leave the shower wrapped in towels, giggling as they make their way out of the guest bedroom. Bud throws on his extra pair of boxers, and the same suit, a little wrinkled but good enough for another night. Bud waits as Zook comes up, from the basement area he disappeared into the night before. Walking up to Bud, Zook notices the subtle changes in his appearance, sensing he's been having fun. A smile creeps onto Zook's face as he looks around the area, noticing a bit more color in some of the other humans' faces, and he knows it isn't makeup. Coolly, his smile fades. The group of vampires, including Paul, George, Jensen, and a few others, make their way to the doors, having discussed the plans the night before. Zook is mentally tallying up their numbers. There are 10 in total, including 2 newcomers. They're going to meet the wolves on supposedly neutral ground, a pavilion near a forested area. It's a public park, so there's more reason to avoid drawing swords with regular people walking around. Negotiations the night before set up the plan. As soon as Zook and Paul are in George's car, they'll get the address, as there's no turning back then. George has arranged a couple of vans for the occasion, and everyone dresses for the meeting with the werewolves, prepared for a potential fight. The only loose clothing hides weaponry. While they don't want to use their weapons, they aren't taking any chances. Both Paul and Zook are offered weapons, a sword and a gun. The swords are sturdy, broad bastard swords, and the guns are plain Glock 9mm. Paul takes both, and Zook chooses a gun, hoping he won't need it. They're informed that the swords are silver melded with steel, useful against their foes but not overly durable. The bullets are also silver jacketed with steel cores, 15 rounds per clip, and 2 clips provided. There's also a regular clip for standard rounds, and they're asked to return everything after the ordeal. 2 black vans pull out from a long building beside the massive house. When the side doors slide open, Zook and Paul see benches along the van walls with harness seat belts. Before he gets in, Zook tells Bud to follow them but not to park at the pavilion, instead waiting nearby. He'll follow until he spots the location, then park near a burger joint, and wait. After about 40 minutes of mostly silent driving, the group arrives at the meeting area, mentally preparing for the conversation. Jensen silently hands Paul a piece of paper, which he inspects and pockets. Each van pulls into a public area with a trail frequented by people, even at this hour. It's a pavilion park with huts available for rent, playgrounds, volleyball nets, and open spaces for various outdoor activities. A few people are grilling, chatting sporadically, and enjoying the evening. Something about the scene seems off to Zook. As he surveys the area, he notices a woman jogging, two couples grilling, a man fishing by the lake, and two old pavilions a short distance apart. It's late for so many people to be around, but there are some kids nearby, playing on their phones as expected. No one looks up as the large group exits the vans, clearly not dressed for a casual night at the park. The vibe is strange. Zook feels something is wrong. They approach one of the large pavilions, and as they do, a smaller group walks up from the nearby tree line. This pavilion is set up for a meeting, with 3 wooden picnic tables in the center, weathered from past gatherings. The pavilion has columns with electrical outlets, a side kitchen, and the 3 tables set together to create an uneven space for discussion. The smaller group doesn't just appear, they've been walking up, blending in more with the larger vampire group. 2 are dressed in flannels and jeans, while the third is in leather from head to toe, muscles screaming to escape the small leather jacket, big and intimidating at nearly 7 feet tall. Zook can't shake the odd feeling about the scene, and he looks around at the other cars parked nearby. One of the men in the smaller group speaks up, strangely playful.
Hey, Mr. Jungle, how's it going tonight?
It takes Zook a moment to piece it together, before he stifles a laugh. George gives him a deadly look, the kind that could kill if it could. George responds calmly.
I've asked you to stop calling me that. Can we have a discussion?
The other man, smiling, sits down and replies.
Yes, you've asked me. What makes you think I've changed my mind? That territory is ours.
George sits at the table, and counters.
I thought you might reconsider. We've offered you much more than the property is worth, and we do own the land.
No, you don't. That land has been ours for centuries. Your people came with blood magic and advanced weapons, took it from us, and now we finally have the strength and law to fight back. Show me all the paperwork you want. Bring your entire library from your metal and concrete fortress downtown. I couldn't care less. It's our territory, and we will get it back. Your people keep moving in, and there will be consequences.
George attempts reason.
Be reasonable. Fights with self. We're offering to buy the properties, paying generously. Some people there need the money and want to sell.
I don't care what you offered. For all we know, you're cheating them with blood mind tricks. None of our people want to move. We'll keep making sure anyone who doesn't belong there stays uncomfortable. It's our land. Get your people out, or this will escalate.
They aren't my people. They're just people who want to live there.
Your people. Did they move here long ago? Are they paying for their homes? I don't care how much money they have. I couldn't care less if they're just trying to get away from the big cities and back to nature like their ancestors. They can get out, and we'll let them.
Fights, come on, we all get together here. Yet again, we're having this conversation, and still, you won't budge. Can't we just...
Fights with self, on the werewolf side, slams the table.
No way. We can't just do anything. Your kind asked for an inch and take a mile. When your people came to these shores, my kind owned this land. You developed it with your ways, and now you've let it go to crap, not knowing how to treat it, through treaties and manipulation. Your people took it by your laws. You drained the earth's blood to fuel your machines and air conditioning. We can't stop that, but we can keep what's ours, and it's ours again. Leave those who live here alone and get out. They won't take your deals, and they're under our protection.
You don't know what you're saying, man. We're negotiating in good faith.
Good faith? My ass, you're negotiating because you can't meet us in a fair fight. You're negotiating because we're watching your people try to force ours into selling, and we're helping them. I know how your kind negotiates.
George says, a bit louder.
Very well, we tried.
Zook blurts out.
Damn it, Jungle, what are you?
A short sword appears in George's hand, swinging fast through the air, narrowly missing the wolf representative's neck across the table. It takes a second for everyone to catch up. Fights smiles, leaning back on the bench.
Ha! At least that guy has a sense of humor.
Rolling to his feet, the man who nearly lost a pound of neck flesh, moves between his flanking guards. Those who aren't expecting it hear noises around the park. Kids in coats get up and run toward the parking lot. The group nearby draws guns from under their jackets, and the couple on the trail nearby pull out rifles. It's a bit of an ambush. George grins.
Now, we make a new deal, one where I let you live.
Bitch, you think we came alone? You made a mistake.
Another man in a tracksuit draws a gun, and looks around, while a guy on a bike hops off, pulling out a gun as well. A van drives through the parking lot, sliding open to reveal 6 masked men in all black with rifles at the ready. Fights calls out.
Bullets haven't flown yet. You sure you want this? You're almost making it a fair fight.
We have more coming.
Obviously we know.
Another van drives through the lot, and jumps the curb, but stops suddenly as a massive werewolf in its muscled warrior form drops its weight onto the hood, claws tearing into the engine block. The back wheels lift off the ground, unbalancing the car. The wolf, a massive figure with tree trunk arms and an angry maw, stops the driver cold. It rips the door off and yanks the driver out, claws tearing through his chest. 6 more in body armor jump out to join the fight. Fights calls.
Well, boys and girls, this negotiation is over.
He and the others at the table flip it on its side as bullets start to fly. Vampires from the city draw swords and dash toward the wolf representatives, who begin to transform, growing larger and more muscular. George draws his sword and leads the strike. Zook shouts.
Damn it. George.
But George just grins back at him. Zook glances at Paul, who's eager for the fight. Zook grabs him.
This isn't our fight, we need to get out of here.
Paul starts to protest but stops when he sees wolves appear behind a nearby group, and the guy in the tracksuit freezes, spotting another wolf, emerging angrily from the trees near him.
Yep, not our fight.
Paul agrees, and they rush toward a forested area to avoid the rest of the fighting. Only about 100 yards from the parking lot, they are stopped by a low growl blocking their way. Paul raises his gun, but Zook places a hand on his arm. Zook calls out to the growling figure.
We don't mean to be in the fight. You can go after the others, we just want to go.
A deep-throated laugh comes from behind a large tree, and the maw of a wolf appears, laughing in a way they recognize.
Oh, what luck. A rematch.
The voice is feral, and has a growl in the back of it, a bestial tone that a human can't mimic. Zook's eyes widen.
Rematch? Oh no. You're...
An 8-foot-tall werewolf in riot gear that fits it, steps out, armored with a faceplate that leaves its maw free, and gloves that keep its claws exposed. Zook tries to lighten the mood.
Look, I know we may have had a disagreement, but your people need you out there.
He slowly reaches for his gun. The wolf chuckles.
Oh, I know they do, but they need me here just as much.
Paul, with a flash of speed, whips out his 2 weapons and fires the gun, but the bullets barely faze the armored beast. It digs into the ground with huge claws, leaping forward and shoulder-checking Paul, clawing him seconds after he hits the ground in one motion. Zook aims and fires at the wolf's armor, but the bullets only graze off. The wolf digs his claws into Paul's shoulder and chest, forcing a shout of pain from him. Paul swings his given sword with his other hand and the wolf's huge paw grabs the sword in the gauntlet and tosses it into a nearby tree. Zook shoots the wolf again, but it makes no difference. He shoots a few times at the points in the armor that might be weak, joint points, melded points, but all of it seems seamless, like it was melded together. The bestial-formed werewolf headbutts Paul into the ground with his huge maw and sculpted wolf skull. Paul would never admit that it hurt quite a bit, but he also didn't want to admit the huge maw biting down on his shoulder, that also hurt a heck of a lot more. The wolf bites down a couple of times to reiterate the many sharp points of his situation. Paul whips his other arm around to get his gun to use in his useful hand. In the meantime, Zook stops wasting bullets, and looks around. Paul's in trouble, and as the wolf pins the gun down next. In the back of his mind, of course he should have taken a sword, just in case. Zook quickly rushes over to climb the tree to retrieve the borrowed sword and rushes back, hoping to catch the wolf by surprise. When he's close enough, he spends a good bit of his borrowed blood into his strength. Paul's eyes bulge in their sockets, at first warning of the eventual move, but they soon plea for help and the wolf is ruining his shoulders. It will take forever to heal if he survives it. For seconds, Zook dumps borrowed blood into his strength, and prepares a swing. Aiming at a place where a joint should be, but isn't, he manages to wedge the blade into the wolf's armor joint at its shoulder. The beast howls, and swings with his huge reach to catch Zook, and does. With one more possible swing before it gets nasty, he fuels his strength with more blood to get this done. He pulls away, ripping his shirt and jacket to pull away for leverage, and swings down on the same point in the armor. A crack forms in the armor, a piece chips out and away from it, and the sword bites in. The werewolf slightly bleeds and it slumps its shoulder in surprise. Zook has seconds to whip out his gun to press it on its skin through that small crack.
You have a couple of options, wolf. I pull this trigger, and you'll be in a world of hurt.
The wolf considers, still gripping Paul, but pulling its face away to chat.
Your friend seems unwilling to give up.
You've proven you're the strongest, and manliest. Let us go, and we'll be out of the city by tomorrow night. You have other fights to tend to. The wolf loosens his grip, releasing Paul. Zook presses the gun with more force until the wolf fully releases Paul. When Paul is loose, and crawls a few feet away on the ground, Zook fires a shot into the wolf's chipped armor, and weakened shoulder.
It howls, twists and grabs its wound, growling back at the two. He shoots again, but the gauntlet blocks the next shot. The werewolf's shoulder goes limp, and it stares daggers at Zook, their temporary truce forgotten. It strategically withdraws away from them, leaving a trail of blood as it slinks away. Zook picks Paul up with his heightened strength and jogs toward the parking lot, where their getaway car waits. They dive in, telling the driver to floor it, leaving the chaos behind.